Okay, hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back if you joined me on my previous two webinars. If not, thank you ever so much for joining us for our cloud services, cloud appointment book, cloud reporting and targets webinar for this afternoon. Okay, so a little bit of initial housekeeping. The duration of this webinar will be approximately 60 minutes. I appreciate our previous ones we've gone over by a few minutes, but this one should be between 60 to sort of 65, 70 minutes, that kind of thing. As always, my microphone has been switched on, whereas everyone else has automatically been muted. And of course, please ensure your speakers are turned up nice and loud so you can hear me. And questions will be taken during or at the end via the question box or the chat box, okay? Perfect. So what is the Cloud Appointment Book? So the Cloud Appointment Book is a fully functioning appointment book that synchronizes in real time with your Shortcuts Fusion system. Now, it does take into consideration any resources. If you were on my previous webinar, you will be fully privy to exactly what that is now and any capabilities, and can be accessed via any internet-enabled device. And what's more, it's completely free of charge. So at the moment, it's a fantastic tool to have if we do not have access to our main Fusion Salon system at home, okay? So we've still got our appointment book, we've still got our reports accessible via the Cloud Appointment Book. So let's take a look at some of its main features. So you can view all of the services that are currently booked in. You can view your appointment touch tip. You can set up employee access within the application. You can add tasks to the appointment book. You can edit or delete tasks as well in the appointment book. And as I said, it's fully integrated with your capabilities and resources. You can also apply filters to the appointment book, book and manage appointments, reschedule. You can do a week view of the appointments, add and edit client records, access client history, enter visit notes, and of course, it's very, very simple to use. So that was the Cloud Appointment Book. So what is cloud reporting and what reports are available to us? So cloud reporting gives you access to your most essential business reports whilst on the move or from the comfort of your home, all viewable in real time. Okay, so it synchronizes in complete real time with your main shortcut system. So these reports are, we have the dashboard, we have our employee productivity, trading summary, employee performance, and targets. Okay, and we can see a quick indicator there of all of those all of those reports, sorry. So let's have a look at a short demonstration of the 5 essential reports available and how we can access these. Now, please do not worry, we are also going to have, of course, my famous live demonstration, so don't worry, we are going to get to that as well. Just a quick demonstration. So we go to the menu button at the top of the screen. On reports on the left-hand side, and we can see our 5 essential business reports there. So we've got dashboard, trading summary, employee performance, and our targets report. Okay, so they're the 5 essential business reports and how we can access them. So what is the dashboard then? So the dashboard, again, oh, a little bit too fast there. Let's just go back. So the dashboard can be viewable right at the top of the screen. And now your dashboard is essentially all of your business reports fused into one. Now you can change the date range along the top. You can toggle between multiple sites, multiple employees or specific employees, and view it ex tax or including tax. Now along the top, we have 10 KPI tiles, KPI meaning key performance indicators. Under those 10 KPI tiles, we have 3 pie charts. And this is your sales, booking, visit and source, and clients visits by status. Underneath, we also have a table of your employee performance. Underneath that, you can see we have our audit actions, essentially anything that caused us to lose money within the business. And underneath that, we have our campaign ROI. Now, your ROI stands for return on investment. This will only be visible if you're using Shortcuts Marketing. If not, it will not be visible. Okay, and that is our client dashboard. So our newest cloud feature, so we've just looked at the cloud appointment book and we've just looked at cloud reporting. Our newest cloud feature is, of course, targets. And targets is a feature we've launched within the cloud appointment book, allowing your staff to track their weekly targets and goals. Targets can be set up for the business as a whole or for each individual employee, okay? Or of course you can do it for both. Now, the reasoning behind this is it's a fantastic opportunity to keep your staff motivated and for them to take full control of their column. So we like them to think of it as their business, okay? Plus, the handy and easy to read graphs means understanding your targets and staying on track has never been easier, okay? So it's a great way to see how far or how close you are to smashing your target. Now, the theory behind this is it's going to help you upsell a little bit easier. Perfect. So that is pretty much it for the slideshow. We are going to move into predominantly a live demonstration. Of course, if you've been on my webinars before, you will know they are about a 90% to 10% ratio of live demonstrations, just so you can see exactly how it works in a real-time scenario. Now, of course, if you do wish to learn more with us, we do have some further online classes, which are all found at shortcuts.co.uk/online-classes, or there is a little link at the top under support. You can also view any previous webinars on our YouTube channel, which is /user/shortcuts UK, or you can simply search for the webinars in YouTube and they will pop up. Perfect. Okay, so I did have one question come through. You haven't got targets. Okay, no problem, Lisa. If you just drop me an email at the end, just let me know the name of your salon. I can get that switched on for you. Not a problem whatsoever. And same for everyone else. Moving forward, if you find you do not have access to targets, let me know. Because it's new, it may have just unfortunately slipped through the net when we did the rollout, but it's easy to add on. It takes about 30 seconds, so please do let me know. Perfect. Okay, so with that being said, let's move straight into our live demonstration. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my preferred internet browser. Now, as we said, the Cloud Appointment Book is a fully functioning appointment book, and all it requires is a data connection or an internet connection. Okay. Now, there are two ways to access the Cloud Appointment Book. The first is to simply type in the website URL, because as we said, it's a simple website. So the first is to type in the website URL. The second, if you have access to your online console, and this is your online console just here, the second way is to click the tab in the top right-hand corner where it says Shortcuts Cloud, and clicking on that will take you directly to your Cloud Appointment Book. Now, if it does ask you for a username and password for your Cloud Appointment Book, the username and password is exactly the same as your online console, and this is your online console. Perfect. So the two ways to use our online console as a stepping stone. The second is to type in the website URL. So what is the website URL? It is pos.shortcutsoftware.com, pos.shortcutsoftware.com, and we can see that there. So that's all you need to type in on your internet page, pos.shortcutsoftware.com, and just log yourself in. Now, some of you may be doing this right now. You may have already typed this in on your mobile phone. You might have typed it in on your tablet. You may have done both. Now, remember, because it is an internet page, you can have it on as many devices as you like. However, if you do type this in on your phone, you may find it a little bit annoying. Every time you want to access it, you have to keep typing in pos.shortcutsoftware.com. So what we can do is essentially save this as an app. Now, I cannot stress this enough when I say save it as an app. When I say that, I don't mean we're going to download it from the App Store or anything like that. We're going to save it like an app. So once you've opened up the internet page and navigated to the website URL, which of course is pos.shortcutsoftware.com, what we're going to do is we're going to add it to our home screen. Now, for our Apple users, we are looking for a square, which is typically down the bottom of your screen. It's a square with an arrow facing upwards. Now, this is not a shortcuts button, it's an Apple button, okay? So it's a square with an arrow facing upwards. We're going to click onto that and we're looking for the button that says Add to Home Screen. We may have to scroll left or right to find it, but we're looking for the button Add to Home Screen. Now, for our Android users, such as Samsung, Huawei, we're looking for 3 dots or the 3 lines, typically in the top or the bottom right-hand corner. Again, we're going to click onto that and it's Add to Home Screen. Now, some of you may have done that now. Perfect if you have. No worries if you haven't. We can always have an attempt at it later. If not, you can simply Google Add to Home Screen for your phone maker model. It's very, very common. And that is how we can essentially save it as an app. Now, everybody should now be logged into the Cloud Appointment Book. We often get asked, how do I set myself up with the Cloud Appointment Book? 99% of the time, If you have access to your online console, you can then log directly into your cloud appointment book. But what we are going to do here is I'm going to talk you through how to set up other staff members with access to the cloud. So to do so, all you would do at the top of your screen is you would click the menu button. On the left-hand side of the navigation panel, we're going to click Employees and Rosters. We're then going to click Employees. And on the left-hand side, we're going to choose the relevant employee. So we've got Amy, we've got Amelia, and so forth. Now, you may have set your staff members up with something before called Anywhere, which is where they had a very basic appointment book on their phone. If you did that potentially a good couple of years ago, they can log into their cloud appointment book using the URL pos.shortcutsoftware.com, and they can log themselves in using their existing credentials, okay? Now, if they cannot remember their credentials, if they were set up with what we call the Anywhere, you can email them here. So you'll see it says email credentials. If you never set your staff members up a couple of years ago with the Anywhere function, you will not have email credentials here, and you can just go ahead with this aspect of the webinar and set your staff member up. Of course, if they were also set up with the Anywhere and they've email credentials, but you still want to set them up again, you can do. Okay, so this is available for everyone. So to set your staff member up, all you do is choose the relevant staff member on the left-hand side. And what we would do is we'd click down the bottom where it says roles and login, okay? Over on the right-hand side, we're going to toggle login access from no to yes. And we've got a username and we have an email address, okay? Now, we typically keep these the same. Now, you may remember your username to access your cloud or your online console is typically your email address. The reason we do this is to make it nice and easy to remember. So all we're going to do at this point is pop our staff members' email address in. Each of your staff members will have their own login details. So please don't use a generic Salon one. Use that particular staff member's email address. Okay, so we pop in the email address. And again, as a rule of thumb, we pop in the username and keep them exactly the same. However, you do not need to do this if you don't want to. Now, underneath, you will see we have two role types. Now, these are two default role types, okay? But we can create our own. But right now, I'm going to explain what our two default role types are and the levels of permission that these role types have. Now, again, the levels of permissions can be changed, okay? And we're going to talk about that in a little bit more, in a little while, sorry. So our employee role, what can that see? So our employee role will give access to their own column only. They will only be able to edit it during the working hours of the business. Outside of the working hours of the business, they will have a view mode only. So they'll only be able to see their column. They won't be able to edit it. They'll also only have access to their own employee performance report, and they will not be able to make any configuration changes. Configuration changes is what we're doing now. We're making changes in the background. Okay, but again, all of that is default and we can change that. Underneath, we have Site Manager. Now, Site Manager this time will give access to all of your staff members' columns rather than just the one. They will have access to all configuration items. They will have access to all reports, which we're going to talk about in just a bit. And of course, they can edit it and view it outside of the working hours of the business. So at this point, you would just simply choose whichever role type is applicable and you'd click the Done button. Okay. Now, at that point, that particular staff member, so i.e. Amelia, would be sent her login details. Now, her login details, depending on how you set it up, her username would most likely be her email address. But again, this is how you just set it up. She will be sent the URL to access the cloud, which of course is pos.shortcutsoftware.com. And she will be sent a random password. Now, I would recommend he or she does change her password to something a little bit more memorable. Now, I'm going to show you on the purpose of this webinar how to change the password. So once that staff member has logged themselves in the top right-hand corner, you will see their profile and their profile name. All they need to do is literally click onto it and click change password and just input a new password. Okay, and it's as simple as that to change the password. Okay, so let's circle back. We have now set up our staff member, Amelia, with access to the cloud, and we've given her the employee role type. But what we're now going to do is we're going to go back and look at the levels of permission that those two default role types have. And we're also going to look at changing those permissions and creating our own role type. maybe one that's slightly higher than an employee, but slightly less than a site manager. Okay, so for this, we're going to click the menu button at the top of the screen. And this time we're going to click General Settings. Over on the right-hand side, we're going to click Roles. And of course, on the left-hand side, you will see the two default role types we just spoke about. Now, in case we are getting a little bit confused when I talk about role types, think of this as like the security you have in Fusion. So it determines what the staff member can and can't see. Now, one thing to bear in mind, whatever role type you give them within the cloud, it will not affect your Shortcuts Fusion setup, okay? This is completely different. So on the left-hand side, you can see our two role types. Now, if we click onto the role type on the right-hand side, we can see who is assigned to this role type. And underneath, we can, of course, see the permissions that fall within this role type. So as I said, by default, I can view my appointments only, create my appointments, and so forth. However, if you want to change these permissions, you can do. Now, to do this, you would click the red word where it says permissions, okay? Please don't try and tick or take the ticks away here. We're going to click the red word here where it says permissions. Once we've clicked on the red word permissions, you will see all of your permissions categories. We can expand these by clicking the cross, and we can see we can toggle no to yes, yes to no to change these levels of permissions. And it is as simple as that. And that is how we can chop and change the levels of permissions for a particular role type. So if I now click the back button and go back into my roles, what we're now going to look at is creating a brand new role type. So these are our two default role types, employee and site manager, but we're going to create our own. Like I said, maybe one that has slightly higher access than employee, but maybe a little bit less access than site manager, such as head front of house, beauty therapist, all of those kind of things. So down the bottom of the screen, we're going to see this new button, and we're going to click onto that to create our new role type. At the top, we're just going to call our new role type, and I'm going to call this one floor manager, okay? But of course, you can call this whatever you like. Underneath, you can also set up an employee for this, and you can also essentially upgrade or promote your employee to this role type. So maybe they were the employee role type before, and we're now moving them onto floor manager. All you would do is toggle no to yes, and that would give that particular staff member access to the floor manager role. Now, of course, when you do create your own role type, you will have to create your own permissions, okay? And to do this, all we're going to do is scroll right down to the bottom where it says permissions, and we're going to expand each permission category like we did just a few moments ago. But we will have to toggle everything from no to yes or yes to no, whichever is applicable. By default, you will see everything is set to no, because of course we don't know the levels of permissions you want to give. So we've erred on the side of caution there for you. But all you would do is go in and change it yourselves. And when you're happy, simply click the done button. And that is how we can set up an employee, assign them to a correct role type, and of course, chop and change the levels of permissions that that role type has. And lastly, we created a brand new role type. So what we're going to move on to now is our cloud reporting, okay? Now, don't worry, I haven't forgotten about the cloud appointment book side of things where we make an appointment. It's very, very easy, so we will end on that. What we're going to move to now is cloud reporting. Now, at the top of the screen, exactly the same as before, we're going to click the menu button. On the left-hand side, we're going to click the reports button, and you will see a list of my 5 reports. Now, you will see here, I have a button where it says dashboard. You will also notice we have that exact same button over here towards the left. These 2 buttons are exactly the same. This one here is just a bit of a shortcut. Now we're going to start with our dashboard. The reason we're going to start with this is you may remember from the beginning, this fuses basically all of our main business reports together as one. Now at the top here, you will see we have a date range. Now I've already configured this date range. By default, it will default to this week we are currently on. Now the reason I've changed it is unfortunately salons are not currently open. Okay. Along the top, you can toggle between sites if you have more than one site. And to the right, you can also toggle between a specific employee or view it excluding tax or including tax. Now, how does our dashboard work? Our dashboard tracks the same days of the week this year compared to the same days of the week last year. Now, of course, if you change the date range to start from last year, it will track last year with the year before. Okay, so it's year on year. The reason it is days of the week instead of dates is it's to better suit seasonal dates such as Christmas, bank holidays, and so forth. So it tracks the same days of the week this year compared to the days of the week last year. Okay, so along the top, we have our 10 KPI tiles. KPI is standing for Key Performance Indicators, essentially how well our business is performing. So let's take a look at now our 10 KPI tiles. So we have our net sales. Net sales is inclusive of service and retail combined. Now you will notice on each of these tiles, we have a percentage and a color, okay? The green, think of this as a bit like a traffic light system, if you will. The green is essentially we have increased on last year of 5% or more. And of course, we can see that percentage there as 149%. Now, the monetary values and the amounts we see here are not by how much we've increased. These are the figures for this date range, okay? The arrows and the percentage are just letting you know that's by how much you've increased. But this figure here is how much you generated for this date range, okay? Now, average per ticket, a ticket is what we refer to as a transaction. So this is the average spend per transaction. Visits, this is how many visits we had to the salon. So 7 visits to our salon. New customer visits, that is out of all of our visits, how many of those clients were brand new to our salon. Rebooking percentage, that is of course of how many of our visits rebooked as a percentage. Now rebooking in the cloud, these figures will pull through ever so slightly different to the rebooking reports in Fusion. In Fusion, you probably, if you're tracking rebookings, you will most likely have the rebooking credit set up. However, you don't need that to be set up to track your rebookings in cloud. How a rebooking will work, if in Fusion or cloud, a client makes another appointment, even if it's not for this, the next week, the next month, that kind of thing, even if they don't turn up for that appointment, it is still classed as a rebooking. Service sales, this is money generated from services alone. And of course, retail sales, money generated from retail sales. Now we have our retail items per ticket. These are the specific retail products purchased per transaction. So these are your shampoos, these are your conditioners, your toners, your cleansers, and so forth. Retail conversion percentage, this is how many people came in purely for a service, but they also purchased a retail product. And of course, upsells, again, that's people that came in for a service, but purchased a retail product. And it's also people that came in maybe for a root tint, but then they left with a full head tint. So we upsold their service. As we scroll down, we can see 3 pie charts. Now on the left-hand side, you'll see a pie chart for your services, retail, other, and pre-booked. So we can see the blue section is money derived from services. Unfortunately, my salon hasn't done too well and we haven't sold any retail products, but the red segment of your pie chart would of course be retail. Other are things like gift cards, sundry, gift certificates, and so forth. Now, pre-booked is it can be one of 2 things. Pre-booked could be if you're currently looking at a date range into the future. This is pre-booked appointments already in your salon. So it's a bit like a forecast. If not, if you're looking at a date range in the past and you still see pre-booked, it could be you had an appointment booked in, but you didn't check them out. So you might want to go back and just double check that. But it's typically if you're looking into the future and you've got appointments booked in. Now, booking, visit, and source, these are the platforms your clients are using to make an appointment. Now, I'm using a test system, so mine does say unknown. However, yours will be the app, Google Reserve, online booking, cloud, or live, or of course, Fusion. Fusion is your main shortcut system. Okay, moving on. Oh, excuse me. Moving on, client visits by status. So these are the types of clients we're getting in the salon. These are our new clients, returning clients, and our walk-in clients. Now you will notice most of this information also tallies up with exactly what we have at the top just here. As we scroll down, you will see we have our employee performance. Now we do also have a dedicated employee performance report, but we can also see it here. So we can see a list of our staff members on the left-hand side, and we can see our net sales. Now you will notice we have the red arrow, the green arrow, and the orange arrow. Again, this is indicating whether we have increased or decreased on last year. Now again, the figures and the monetary values are here are not by how much you've increased or decreased by. Unfortunately, the system isn't able to work out by how much you increased or decreased by. The figures and the monetary values are here are what you've generated for the date range you're looking at, but it's just letting you know as an indicator they have increased or decreased. Okay, so we've got our average per ticket, our visits, our rebooking percentage, our service sales, and our retail sales. Now the last column here, we can expand it to show our retail items per ticket. That is the specific retail items purchased per transaction. Now, as we move down, you will see our audit actions. Now, our audit actions is essentially anything which may have caused our business to lose money. This is typically things such as no-shows, voided transactions, or cancelled appointments. We can see the total amount here, and of course, how much money it has cost us. And last but not least, as we scroll down to the bottom, you will see your campaign ROI. Your ROI standing for return on investment. Now, if you're doing this alongside with me and you do not have this here, please do not worry. This will only pull through when you've activated some of your shortcuts marketing campaigns. If you haven't, this will not show. And that is our dashboard. So what we can now do is have a look at our other reports. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the menu button just like before. We're going to click reports, and we're now going to start with our employee productivity report. Our employee productivity is very similar to a report we have in Fusion, which is appointment roster analysis. Essentially, this shows your staff members' utilization, so how well they have utilized their time in the salon. And again, it will pull through the date range you've currently been looking at. Now, I'm looking at quite a broad date range here. You may wish to narrow it down, okay, to maybe a week, a month, or that kind of thing. So the first column we have here is, of course, a list of all of our staff members. The second one is booked hours. Booked hours are the hours they were booked with clients, essentially when they were busy. The booked amount is how much money they generated from those clients they were booked out with. Now, available hours are their rosters, their schedule. Those are the hours they were set to work. It's not the hours they were free after being busy with clients. It's their total working hours, okay? An estimated amount of available hours is essentially looking at it historically for the money they've generated so far from being booked out. If they were fully booked, judging by how much they typically make per hour, if they were fully booked, this is how much money they could earn you. The utilization will show a percentage of how much of their time they were booked out with clients. So my employee here, Amy, was set to work from my date range, 728 hours and 12 minutes, but was only booked out for 9 hours and 25 minutes, okay? So essentially making her utilization a percentage. So as a whole, she wasn't very busy. Now looking at this, what we would like to see is 75% or above, okay? Now, of course, this will take into consideration any breaks or tasks that have been scheduled. Now, you will see here we have a percentage of our total booked hours. Now, if you were to give each of your staff members a slice of the action, shall we say, all of these percentages here total to 100. And this lets you know out of all of your staff members who had the biggest percentage of total booked hours. So we can see Amy had 9.25 hours. That gave her 25% of all the booked hours. Amelia had 9.75 hours. That gave her 27% of all the booked hours, and so forth. And of course, it works exactly the same for the percentage of total booked amount. The total booked amount is the monetary amount that they generated. And again, it's a percentage for each of your staff members. Number of clients is, of course, how many clients they saw. Percentage of clients, again, in exactly the same theory as our last two columns just here, we can see which of our staff members had the biggest percentage of clients. And of course, we can see historically what they make per hour, okay? Now, of course, this isn't to be confused with how much money they should be making salary-wise. This is historically how much money they make per hour from their services, okay? And that is our employee productivity report. So what we're now going to do is we're going to click the menu button. And we've just looked at our dashboard, and we're going to have a real quick look at our trading summary. Now, hopefully everyone is familiar with the trading summary. It's quite a common report that we use in Fusion. Everything is exactly the same, apart from it will not have a list of your staff members down the bottom, and a few things do open up on the left, whereas in Fusion, they do open up on the right. But of course, it does still take into consideration excluding tax and including tax. It has your services, your retail, your liabilities, such as programs, accounts, memberships, and so forth. Any redemptions, and underneath, of course, your ticket averages. So the average ticket, the average transaction spend. On the right-hand side, of course, we do have the types of customers we have: new clients, walk-in, returning, and of course, female, male, and unspecified. All fairly familiar stuff that we should be looking at in Fusion anyway. And in the top right-hand corner, of course, are takings, the all-important aspect, whether it was cash, card, and so forth. Okay. Now that is our trading summary. Now, hopefully everyone is fairly familiar with that because it's quite a common report we do look at. So again, if I click the back button, we're now going to have a look at our employee performance report. Now, again, we can see our employee performance details within the dashboard, but of course it does have its own dedicated report here. Now, the reason for this is all of these reports can be exported, okay? The dashboard cannot, but all of the reports can be exported, and you can see that in the top right-hand corner just here. So you may wish to export this to a CSV, PDF, and send it to the manager, the accountant, if applicable, and so forth. Okay, so you'll see the top grid, the top table we have is purely for services, okay? So you can see the monetary value generated from services, service tickets, that is how many service transactions we did, and service units are the specific service we did. Tints, blow dries, manicures, pedicures, Botox, and so forth. Average service per service ticket, that is on average how much are your clients spending on their visits to your salon. Average service units per service ticket is on average how many services is your clients having when they visit. So they're having just a cut, or they having a cut and a color. Okay, so that's the average service units. On average, how many services they have per visit to your salon. Rebooking is of course how many rebookings we've had. And rebooking percentage is of course those rebookings as a percentage value. Then we have our upsell and our upsell quantity. Now, again, this is our service upsell only. Okay, so it could be they came in for a root tint, but they ended up having a full head tint, or they came in for a mini manicure and they ended up having a full blown acrylic. Okay. And underneath that, we can do exactly the same for retail. Now, unfortunately, my guys haven't been doing too well here with the retail, but again, everything opens up in exactly the same way. We can just expand that column there by clicking and dragging. Now, underneath, you will also see our total. Now, our total, as the name suggests, for our revenue, adds our services and our retail together. An average, that's averagely how much money they make. Sundry, that's how much money they generate from sundry income. If you were on my last webinar where we talked about sundry surcharges, this will pull through to him. We can see monetary values for gift card and gift certificate. Series, which we also went through in our second webinar today. Again, that will all pull through to here. We have our tickets. Tickets, again, is our transactions. And discounts, that's the monetary value given against our discounts. And we have our discounts and promotion quantity. So how many discounts we gave and how many promotions we had set up. And again, if you were on my first webinar this morning where we spoke about promotions, that will all pull through to here. And our last column is tips. Now, tips is if you have tips set up on your card machine, okay? And you will have this set up at the point of sale screen. Perfect. Sorry, and our last column, I do apologize. Our last column is tips quantity, okay? So how many tips we had. Now, as we scroll down, you will see our hours. Now, we did just briefly look at our employee productivity report. Now, you will also see we have a table here which also talks about our employees' hours. Now, this is slightly broader, okay? It's not as specific. It will round the working hours up. So if before it was maybe 964.75 hours, in this report, it will round it up for you. So if you want it to the minute, to the hour, that will be your employee productivity report, which is the first report we looked at. Okay, so we can see the booked hours. Again, this is, it rounds it up. So the booked hours were 2, whereas before it was 1.75 or 1 hour 75, I should say. We've got the average amount of money generated per worked hour, the average tickets per hour, the average service spend per hour, and of course the average service tickets per hour. So on average, how many services can your staff member do in an hour? So essentially, how many clients can they see per hour? Now, of course, moving forward, these numbers might be slightly higher or slightly lower, I should say, sorry, because of course we may take slightly longer to do our appointments, okay? So we may be getting a lower average of services per hour. And underneath, you will see your customer visits. So we can see the, how many visits we've had, and they are broken down and split between walk-in, new, returning, male, female, and unspecified, and of course our children. Okay, and it splits them down for you and also gives you a percentage. We can also see any new clients and any returning clients. Okay, so new clients brand new to the business, and return clients, clients already in your database that have of course returned. Okay, so that is our cloud reporting. Before we look at our targets, we first need to set a target up. Now, you can set targets up for the business as a whole, or you can set targets up for each individual staff member, or of course you can do both. So to set targets up initially, what we need to do, we need to click the menu button. On the left-hand side, we need to click employees and rosters, okay? And on the right-hand side, we're going to click targets setup. Give it a couple of seconds just to load. Now, over on the left-hand side, the first column, you will see this is where your business will sit. And underneath, you'll have each individual staff member. Now, remember at the beginning when we were talking about setting our staff members up, and we spoke about those permissions, by default, the employee role type will only be able to see their own target, and they won't be able to see the business target either. Okay, but of course, you can change that. So I'm going to set my salon up, Shortcuts Retreat Birmingham, with my target. Now on the targets on the right hand side, for the time being, you will see they are all weekly targets, okay? Moving forward, we are hoping to change it to fortnightly, monthly, 3-weekly and calendar. But for the time being, they are weekly. This is because it's psychologically easier to smash a weekly target because it is a lower number, okay? Now these fields here, you do not have to fill all of these fields out if you don't want to. Okay, if you just want to do net sales, you can do. If you just want to do service sales, you can do. You don't have to fill all of these out if you don't want to. And you can also do this amount, whether it's inclusive of tax or exclusive of tax. Okay, I would always do it exclusive of tax. Otherwise, you're going to give yourself a bit of an unfair reading because as you can imagine, you pay tax on your services. So that number will be spent. Okay, so what we're now going to do, I've said my net sales are £10,000 and I'm going to toggle that to no. And to set this target up, I'm just going to click the done button. And that is our target set up, so nice and easy. So to track this target, all we need to do is literally click reports. And our last report over here is where it says targets. And this will, of course, open up our target. Now, if you set multiple targets, like we did, I only set the net sales up. If you do set multiple targets up, they will all appear here. Now, if you're finding it quite some time to download, one of the best things to do is filter your employees. And it might make it a little bit easier. If not, it just takes a few minutes just to download all of the information. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to set another target up so I don't keep you all waiting. Now, because I set up a business target, it can take quite some time, but I'm going to set a target up there for Amy. And I'm going to say her total sales per week are £1,000. Okay, so she has to do a total sales of £1,000. That is inclusive of services and retail. And I'm also going to say she does have to do £50 in retail so we can monitor those side by side. So if we click the done button, and again, if we go back to reports, and if we click onto the targets button, now what I'm going to do from the drop down arrow here, again, save us all waiting, I'm just going to select Amy. Well, I do apologize, ladies and gents. It usually doesn't take quite this long for one person. I will give it a refresh. If not, I will just manually talk you through how it looks. It is very, very simple to navigate. But I do apologize. My test system doesn't seem to want me to show you targets today, but it is very, very easy to get around. So we'll leave this loading in the background just in case it does anything. But when you view your targets, you will have a solid blue line. Your solid blue line is the actual amount of money you have generated. You will have a dashed blue line, which is your forecast. So if you've got any pre-booked appointments booked in, and you will have a dashed gray line. Your dashed gray line will determine what you need to make every single day to smash your weekly target. And it is very, very easy. I apologize we're not able to see it. It's a little bit frustrating. I'm not sure why it's not working. It was working fine earlier in the test, and some of you may have already been on this webinar and seen this, but please do have a look at it, set it up yourself. It is very, very straightforward to navigate around. If, of course, you are struggling, please do drop me an email and we can go through that. I apologize that wasn't working. I don't know why it's not working, but I apologize it's not. Okay, so the last aspect, if we just get rid of, perfect. Sorry, apologies. I think it dropped out there as well. I think you lost my screen. Can I just double check everyone can see the screen still? So we should be looking at an appointment book just now. Perfect. Okay, so just to double check, everyone can still see the screen. We've got Preeti, Gary, Jay, all of that kind of thing going on. Excellent stuff. Thank you very much. Okay, so what we're now going to, oh, we have a question there. Oh, lovely. Thank you, Lindsay and Simon. Okay, so perfect. The last aspect we're now going to move on to is, of course, utilizing our Shortcuts Cloud appointment book, making appointments and so forth. Okay, now one thing to bear in mind on your cloud appointment books, just to let you know, the percentages next to your staff members' names, you will not have that. I'm working on a test system. You will not have that, just to let you know. Okay, so let's have a look at our Shortcuts Cloud appointment book. So in the top left-hand corner, you will see we have a calendar where it says Wednesday, the 13th of May. Clicking onto that, we can navigate to a specific month at the top here, or we can choose a specific date. Along the top, you will see we have all of our staff members, and of course, it will pull through their photographs if they are set up in Fusion. Down the left-hand side, you can also see our appointment intervals, so 9, 9:15, 9:30, and so forth. Down the center bottom of the screen, you will see we have the same 5 buttons available to us. We've got the today button, the day forward, day backward, and week backward. And of course, if we click onto today, it will take us back to today. In the bottom left-hand corner, you will see we have the week view button. That means we can view a full working week. Week as in 7 days. So if we click onto week view, we can now see we got all of our staff members and it will take us all the way through for a week. If you only want to look at a particular staff member's week view, let's say we want to look at Gary's, you can click on Gary's column, it will highlight in gray, and then again you can click the week view button and it will only show you Gary's full working week. And again, to remove that, we can simply click the day view button. Now you will notice Preeti and Jay are not set to work today. It is their day off. So what we can do is filter the appointment book down. In the top left-hand corner under the Shortcuts logo, you will see an upside down triangle represented by 3 lines. We click onto that. We can now filter our appointment book down. Now there are a couple of ways we can filter it down, but the most common is by rostered on. Rostered on, I mean they are set to work. Once you've selected a filter, you can save it to utilize it again, or you can click the apply button. It's entirely up to you. So you'll now see Jay and Preeti have now been removed. We can remove this filter by simply clicking the tick in the top left-hand corner. And it brings back Preeti and Jay. Now, making an appointment in the Cloud Appointment Book is pretty much exactly the same as making an appointment in Fusion. So all you need to do is choose the correct stylist or therapist column and choose the correct time. Now, one handy feature you may notice we've added are these hour markers here. such as 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. This is again to help you accurately make an appointment at the correct time. What you may have also noticed is we have a red line which runs through the day, letting us know exactly where we're up to, again, so we can accurately make an appointment. So let's make an appointment. It's just coming up to 2 o'clock. Let's make an appointment in Gary's column for 2 p.m. So I'm going to click on that cell, or of course, if you're doing this on a phone or a tablet, you would tap onto it. If you find it easier, of course, you can use a stylus. Okay. We will then get this box. We can search for customers. We can search for recent customers, checked out customers, or any remaining customers for today. Where it says search for customers, these are customers already in your database, so essentially existing clients. Down the bottom, you will have the new button and the task button. Just to let you know, again, I'm working on a test system. You will not have the break button, okay? You will only have new or task. Task is, of course, you can schedule yourself a task. And if you were on my previous webinar, we showed some handy tips and tricks as to why you may be scheduling in tasks. And of course, we can click the new button. New is so we can add a brand new client into your database. So let's search for a client. Okay, so we're going to click onto Stacy, a very good client of ours. And then right down the bottom here, you will see we have all of this particular client's personal information. You can add notes into this client. You can see any future appointments, and it will also show you the 3 previous appointments. Again, to ensure we accurately correct the right appointment, or of course, we don't double book them. Right down the bottom, you will also see any alerts. Now, these alerts will pull through from shortcuts, and of course, you can update or edit them here as well by clicking on the pencil. So to finish making this appointment, we can click the services button or the next button. It doesn't really matter. Now, in the Cloud Appointment Book, you can search for categories. You can search via services. You can see previous services, or you can simply choose from the service categories you have. Down here, you can tick this box if it is a request, and you will see the total amount. And we just click the Done button to confirm this. Now, you may find when you do this, it does prompt you to assign a tag, such as new client, request client, salon client, and so forth. This is because it's cloud-based and we need to track and monitor the kinds of clients we're getting. So we've now made an appointment in Gary's column. Now, just to let you know, again, it does take into consideration any resources and any capabilities. Okay, so you will still get the same colors appear if you do accidentally make an appointment in the incorrect column, that kind of thing. Okay, so what we can do is we can make the appointment longer and shorter. Now, you may be familiar with this in Fusion. You can make the appointment longer and shorter. Now, in the bottom right-hand corner, if you place your finger or your cursor, depending on whether you're doing this on a tablet, laptop, or phone, in the bottom right-hand corner, all you need to do is place your finger and simply drag up and down, or click and drag up and down. Now, there is a bit of a knack to it. It does take a few moments just to get used to it. So we're going to place our finger for a split second, and then we're going to drag down. Or we're going to click and then drag down again. If you try and do it too quickly, you'll find you just move the appointment book up and down like that. And that is how we can extend and make the appointment longer and shorter. Now, you will see in the top left-hand corner, we can also move this appointment around. So again, if I click and drag, I can move it across to Jay. Now I'm going to pop it in Jay's column and we'll see what happens. You can see it turns to this orange beige color. That is because Jay is not set to work today. So again, it pulls through all of those capabilities and resources as well. Let's move it back to Gary. Now you may be thinking, what about if I'm doing this on a phone or a tablet? Can I right click? Okay, can I arrive my clients? Yes, you still have the majority of those commands. However, as you can imagine, as we don't have a mouse plugged in, there's no need to right click. So all we're going to do is we're going to tap onto the appointment, and you'll see this brings up the touch tip. In the bottom right hand corner where we have these 3 dots, commonly known as an ellipsis, we can click onto the 3 dots, and this is our right click command. We can now arrive the client, and of course it turns the appointment blue. Now again, let's do that right click command once more. We're going to tap onto it or click onto it, click the 3 dots, and this is our right click command. We can reschedule, rebook, or change the appointment. Now, right down the bottom here, you will see we have customer history. Customer history will pull through any previous services or any previous retail. It will also pull through any visit or formula notes. Now, the great thing about this is if you're allowed to have your mobile phone on you in the salon and you wish to update this particular client's color notes, you can do so here. You can also grab the visit notes via the client screen at the top of the page just here. So the last thing I'm going to do is simply delete this appointment. And again, I'm going to tap onto it, click the three dots, and just here, I'm going to click the cancel button. We then have the same three options to cancel the appointment. Lastly, click the delete button to confirm this. And that is it. It's as simple and as easy as that. Now, it's a great feature to have, especially at the time being, if you do not have access to your main shortcut system. As you can see, you've got all of your essential business reports there. You can start to make appointments, get people booked in moving forward, move them around, and so forth. Perfect. And that is cloud reporting, cloud targets, and of course, the cloud appointment book. And again, I apologize, we weren't able to do the targets, but if you have set them up, hopefully you've been able to get your head around that. Of course, if you do have any questions, I'm always here for you, so please do drop me a message now. Perfect. Okay, no questions for me this afternoon. Not a problem. Hopefully it means I've managed to answer everything and go through all of your queries. I will stay just on for a couple more minutes in case you do think of anything, but hopefully you found that informative. Also, one other thing, just where if there are any other questions coming through, at the end of this webinar, you may be prompted to just fill out a quick survey. It's just to ensure I'm offering the highest level of training and service to you just while everything is going on, and of course, moving forward. I'd be very appreciative if you could just take 2 or 3 minutes of your time just to fill that survey out. It may have already opened up in your browser. It does look like this. If not, you will be sent it within the next 24 hours. Today's webinar was just cloud reporting, cloud appointment, that kind of thing. It may just be under cloud services. But as always, I hope everyone's found it informative as well. You need login details. Okay, Gillian, you would have to send me your salon name just at the end, and we can go through that. Can you change columns on the cloud, or does it have to be on the main system? It's a college setup. How do you mean when you say, sorry, change columns? Sorry, Jane. You're very welcome, Jane. Yes, probably the best thing just to do moving forward. Jane, in particular with merging, we do actually have now a video on our website, shortcuts.co.uk. If you go to the support section at the top and then go to Learning Center, if you scroll down to clients and look for merging, it is on there. You're obviously more than welcome to email me, just the way the schedules are moving forward into next week. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be able to get back to you within the next couple of days. If not, you can, of course, give our help desk team a call and they'll be able to run through merging with you. There's a couple of things that you may need to take into consideration. If not, if it's not super duper double desperate, of course, no problem. Drop me an email and we can schedule 15, 20 minutes to just run through that together. You're very welcome, Shauna. All right, let me just go back. Oh, changing the appointment book setup. Yes, all of that, the schedules, all of those kind of things, Jane, will all have to be done through the main system. You can't change schedules or anything like that in the cloud. It all synchronizes with your main system. So make the changes in there and it will feed through here. But yeah, in the cloud, you're not able to change your working hours or your schedule or anything like that as of yet. Yes, unfortunately so, Jane. Yes, that is the case. I mean, I know we do have a lot of salons and particularly colleges in your case that weren't able to take the system home for obvious reasons. But this, at least for the time being, does give them access to reports if they need to track how things have been doing. And of course, we're probably going to be getting loads of requests to make appointments moving forward. This is a great way to do so by staying safe and staying home. But yes, unfortunately so, Jane, we will just have to wait to get back to do that. You're very welcome. Perfect. Okay. So I think that's it for all of the questions this afternoon. Hopefully some of you will join me on my webinar a little bit later on at 3:30, where we go through our step one of setting up a Shopify account. Oh, did I have a question just come through there? Oh, perfect. Um, Let me just make a note of that. Thank you, Gillian. Are they two separate salons, or is that the name of the salon? Okay, just to double check, are you affiliated with them both? Okay, cool. Thank you. And just to double check, Gillian, your position, I will only be able to set up login details for you if you're one of the owners or the managers. Do you fall into that category? That's great. Thank you very much. Yep. I'll get that sorted for you. I'll try my best to get it sorted for you today, Gillian. But like I said, the way the schedules are going, I can't promise it. If you do need it super duper quick, please give our help desk a call and they'll be able to get it sorted with you in the next half an hour. If not, it's most likely looking like moving on to tomorrow now for me. You're very welcome. Just move that. Perfect. Okay, so let's just double check. Lovely. Okay, so thank you ever so much for joining me this afternoon. It's been a pleasure speaking to everyone as always. Hopefully, I'll speak to you all again soon if you're not on my webinar later on. If not, stay safe and we'll speak all again soon. Thank you ever so much. Bye bye.